Hello again, everybody. It's time for episode 258 of the 3 Point Podcast and the start of March Madness. Can't wait for that. It's presented by Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center and Skymint Cannabis. Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center, they're over 1,000 members now. You can drop in on many of the fitness classes, check out the therapy pool, relax in the sauna or steam room. Just enjoy everything they got going on there. That's Memorial Healthcare. Check them out online at memorialhealthcare.org. And also our good friends at Skymint Cannabis. I just saw a sign out front, 40% off flower. That was at the Corona store. I don't know if it's all the way through their business, but man, 40% off. That's a heck of a deal. And you maybe can even use our coupon code 3.20 for an additional 20% off. Work your magic, negotiate, tell them you listen to 3 Point Podcast, but check them out there at Skymint, man. It's a great location located right by one of our sponsors, Rivals. And, what a great combination that is, I think,
Grab some food, get some after food recreation, and have a good night.
Dessert gummies. Heck yeah. Also want to thank our local partners, AZEE Printing Solutions, Capital Sports Fieldhouse, Crow Real Estate and Auction, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals, Taphouse and Grille, I just mentioned, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. We always like to catch up. I got a little bit here, but Matt, I know you had the big assignment last week at the ACC tournament. Maybe give us a little flavor of behind the scenes there for you.
Yeah, it was definitely a very cool experience. So I've been working on the one of my assignments, I guess, this basketball season has been working on the college basketball prime games that are. It's usually Jay Billis and Shulman. It's like the Saturday night or Saturday afternoon prime basketball games. I've been doing the women's too on Thursdays, Sundays. The men's is usually Wednesdays, Saturdays. I've been working on those, and apparently I've been doing a really good job because the production crew really likes me, and Jay Billis has taken a liking to my work. Awesome. And he requested that I do the ACC tournament with them. And since it was, and the producers and the directors, they, I guess, really like me. So they requested that I do the ACC tournament. And since it was up in Greensboro, only about an hour and a half away, they gave me the option to go up there and do it. So, had to make sure that it was going to work out with my wife and the kids. I couldn't just take off and be like, hey, deal with the kids. But so it did. And I was there for 3 days. I did the Thursday, Friday, and then the championship game was on Saturday. And so I've been at ESPN 12 years, and I know we've talked about local news. So I've done like the high school football stuff like that Jared and I were doing at Fox 17. But as far as with like ESPN, I've never done a remote. I've always been either in the offices up in Bristol or down here in Charlotte. So it was just a really cool experience. I mean, being there kind of behind the scenes, I know how everything works, but like actually being there, seeing all the trucks, being in all the like back hallways where all the production people are running back and forth, the people that are just like the DJs and all the pep bands and the cheerleaders and just everything that goes into putting on, a basketball tournament. It was really cool to see just all the logistics. You don't realize, I think people at home, I was talking to my mom and dad, basically answering the same question. I was like, I think people at home flip on a game and they think that's all that goes into it. Jared, you've definitely seen everything that goes into putting a game on TV. Ted, you understand it too. But like, until you actually experience it and see how many people are involved in putting on not just one game, but a whole tournament, it was very, very impressive to see, and basically see it go off without a hitch. Some bumping into all the different media, talking to Jay Billis, and Holly Rowe was there, and I had never met her in person. Dan Shulman, him and Billis are just super cool, laid back people. Working in the trucks, that was definitely a fun experience. So it was one of those that, like, sometimes when you get doing this for so long, Jared, you're probably at this point, Ted, I mean, you've done however many state championship games at Silverdome or Ford Field. Sometimes it becomes like a job, you just do it. It's your job. You do it 40 hours a week or, whatever. And sometimes you forget that it is actually really cool. It's a really cool job. The stuff I was doing the ACC championship, I was like, and this is a pretty cool opportunity. So, I got to go down on the court during the trophy presentation and see him cut down the nets. And obviously, since it was Duke, it was a ton of Duke fans there. So the crowd was just crazy. So it's super cool. And, like a couple things, I could go on for a while, obviously, but a couple things, like one time I had to so in between games in a tournament, you got a half hour. There's a half hour between game 1, game 2, or whatever. So basically everyone in the truck, you take off, you run to the bathroom, you run and grab snacks, you grab whatever you got to do. I'm like going down the hallway, North Carolina's mascot coming around the corner. I was like, oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, like gave him a fist pound or something like that. So I was just kind of funny. And then it was cool seeing in between games, there was like a one section that had access to the floor for the pep bands, for the cheerleaders and everything like that. And it was kind of cool seeing like one game, who was it? I think NC State was coming out and Clemson was going in, and all the fans, and they're all students, college students, they were all like talking trash to each other and like, because they were probably about to play each other. So seeing that stuff was just fun. It made me, I don't know, remember how cool it is to, I don't know, be doing TV.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
very, very cool.
It's kind of funny to think that, like I've gone down to the truck, it's just kind of part of the job or whatever. It's ESPN has the resources, obviously, where you could remote in and do your work that way a lot more often, but it is night and day different when you go to the arena, you feel the atmosphere. It's a lot more people working on it. You feel like you're actually a team than compared to like when, we do remote broadcasts where like in our studio remoting into Seattle or whatever.
Right.
So it's a totally different job. I can see how you're like revamped almost by doing it. Like, man, this is freaking awesome. Like going down there and those like long weekends like that. Like I think of state finals weekends. Yeah. I have 2 of them coming up actually with women's or girls state finals and boys state finals next 2 weekends. It's kind of like you're in the trenches with the team and it's everybody's working, their tails off and, long days, like 12, everybody's working 12 hours essentially. There's something kind of fun about that. So it sounds like a blast. I can't imagine the ACC tournament. So.
Oh, no kidding, man. Kudos to you, Matt. That's awesome that you got to experience that. And the nice thing about it, I'm sure, too, is the accommodations, the per diem, what you got going on there is a little extra bonus, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like Jared said, you're putting in long days, so a lot of overtime, but they definitely take care of you as far as per diem and food. I mean, there was just constant food, snack truck, fully stocked all the time, catering, every possible breakfast, lunch, snacks. Games would get over and there would be a late night snack with like pizza or pretzels and stuff like that. And I was just like, I'm eating so much. Like, what am I doing? But it was all free. So I'm like, man, I'm going to go eat, trying to pace myself a little bit. We were staying in the hotel where all the teams were staying. So I saw some of the, players coming in and out of the hotel and the coaches and stuff. So that was kind of cool. Saw John Shire in the lobby. I think it was Thursday night. So, just doing stuff like that is, again, you take for granted the opportunities that you get sometimes. Like when I'm doing an NBA game on ESPN, like Jared said, remotely, sometimes you think like, oh, I'm just doing my job, but it is, a pretty cool job. So when you're actually there, Jared was spot on with what he said. When you're actually there, it kind of gives you that energy. It makes you feel like you are literally doing the game. You're there doing it. So.
Well, you both work for companies that top-notch equipment, top-notch staff, and then I have the broadcast from hell last night. I mean, we go to a high school gym to broadcast the Langsburg Wolfpack, and I'm just so excited about this. I mean, here I am kind of winding things down, as you guys know. We got this regional opener, Jonesville and Langsburg, and we had a little pre-warning that the Verizon service was not very good down there, and we use a jetpack and do it, on a hotspot basically with our broadcast equipment. But we were warned that the Verizon service was no good, so we went there an hour and a half early, tried to hook up. They were right; there was nothing going on. So our backup plan was to go. I have a different carrier. Tried my phone, no good. Couldn't get. I could call out. I could hear the girl at the station. She couldn't hear me, and so I actually asked the Langsburg fans that were sitting right behind me, anybody got AT&T? A gentleman says, here, you can use my phone. So I tried to dial up the number with his. It actually got us on the air for about 5 minutes, and then it died. And then it was just poor Joe Smith, my partner. I have my recorder as a backup so we could post it on 3 Point Podcast just in case of a problem like that. And so I'm talking on and on and on, and Joe's trying to connect back to the studio. Nothing. The whole first half, or at least from the half of the first quarter till first half, he was trying nonstop. And at halftime, I just told him, forget it. We're just recording it the rest of the way. Let's have some fun the second half. And if you do listen to it on our podcast site, you'll notice that there may have been a little distraction in me, but the second half got a lot better. The second half got a lot better. So the plan is to do the same thing tomorrow night. Just come right out and record it, and hopefully Langsburg can get by and make it to the quarterfinals, where I found out that they have good service there.
If they're doing that, do they have the NFHS hookup that you can just hook right in? Yeah. So why not coordinate that?
Well, I don't think I can hook into it because I think the computer's way up by the video. I did look at that, but I will say, for any of our Langsburg fans that listen, and I know you guys, I got to tell you, we've picked up a bunch of them. I can't tell you, there was a few people that came up to me and said, "Hey man, I enjoy your program." So it's cool that we pick up other fans. But if you're listening to this and you're not going to get the radio from me live on Wednesday night, but check out the NFHS network. At least you can watch the team, and that's a cool thing.
It is crazy. All this talk about TV production and, now radio. Sometimes technical stuff happens. I mean, it just happens. Whether a computer goes down, you lose connection, a satellite goes out,
right?
Wi-Fi goes out. That's kind of what you were dealing with a little bit. So,
on top of that, no Wi-Fi. No Wi-Fi.
That's what I mean.
Yep. School had no Wi-Fi because they got hacked by some malware idiot 5 days ago. So they had zero Wi-Fi.
Man, let's just be thankful that wasn't your final broadcast. That at least you that you get at least one more crack at it on tomorrow, Wednesday, and then maybe even on Monday, and maybe even further on if Lanesburg keeps winning. So let's just be thankful for that.
Absolutely.
I didn't have it nearly as an eventful weekend as you guys did. Sometimes you don't know whether to laugh or cry. So as you guys know, I've been doing this. This is day 27 that I've been working out 6 days a week and eating good, no carbs. But because of that, I have developed some sort of like skin irritant type rash or something that goes like right underneath my neck, like right about here, and like to my chest. So I went to the dermatologist. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's something that basically, because my body is in ketosis, which I'm not like trying to do. It's just I don't eat like junk food, so it naturally went to that. Because my body is in ketosis, it is like rejecting it essentially. Like my body will not accept it. So basically, it's just that's when basically this is a long-winded kind of losing my train of thought, but basically what I'm saying is that's when you're fat, when your body you have the cravings, you overpower the cravings, you have the late night thoughts about food, you start exercising, and then your body says, you really think you're clear of this poor diet and no exercise lifestyle? No, we're gonna throw this final boss at you. And so I don't know how to solve it. They gave me some shampoo to use that hasn't really done anything. I got into, Ted, you'll appreciate this, I got into the hot tub at my parents' house, and my dad did warn me that the alkalinity was low, but I got in that and it was almost gone at this point. This was this weekend. Got out and it was like it had 10 times gotten worse. So I don't know. It's just kind of funny how it's like you think you finally are like, whatever, getting your beach bod, but yet you're furthest away from the beach bod than you ever could possibly be. I mean, this whole last 2 weeks, I've been having to wear the same 4 pieces of clothing that are like turtlenecks, Bubba Watson, fully collared button-up shirts, because I feel like a leper when I'm walking around in public. So it's just been a weird couple of weeks, and to be honest, it might be going on for the next few weeks. So,
oh boy,
it's crazy the kind of stuff that the human body will do. Like you said, rejecting stuff, or like I said a few weeks ago when we were talking about this whole dieting thing, where I did the Whole30 and cut out sugar 100% and felt like absolute train wreck 2 weeks in, because I was basically detoxing from sugar. It's just crazy, the kind of stuff. Even just as simple as if you're a coffee drinker and you don't have your morning coffee, you get that pounding headache by 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. It's just crazy what you do to your body, especially when we put the garbage that we put into it, all the sugar and processed food and all that other junk. But
maybe you need to give up and just go get a Big Mac.
No, but
Right
that's what's funny about this. So this is something that has like kind of come and gone every time I eat healthy. Nobody would believe me. I'd always say it like this happens every time I start eating healthy. Finally, the dermatologist confirmed it. But that's what's hilarious. If I did have junk food tonight, I would wake up and it would be gone. That's what's like kind of the tantalizing thing about everything is I know that if I just ate bad for a couple days, it'd be gone.
Yeah.
So it's like a fungus in my body or something.
Well, before we segue out of this,
like an ointment, or I don't know. I'm surprised there's not something. Well, I guess you said they gave you shampoo, but it's just otherwise it's just kind of deal with it. Like
like I said, it was going away. I was stupid and got in the hot tub, and it just. I mean, Ted, you know how those hot tubs are, man. It's like basically a cesspool. It's impossible to keep it clean. I know you currently have one. Yeah,
mine's clean.
You're gonna say it's perfectly clean, but it's probably not.
No, it is, but it is a challenge to keep the chemistry up. It's a science to it. You definitely have to stay on top of it. Fortunately, I don't know how often your dad uses his, but I'm the only one pretty much that uses mine. I would say I'm in it on an average of 3 times a week, maybe 4, and so far so good. So far the chemistry's been okay for me. I do have another question though. I saw you and your brother Johnny had a chance to go work out at Memorial Healthcare. What'd you think of the place when you went in there and actually did some things?
Yeah, that's my 3rd time going there. There's been a couple times I went when you weren't there. One thing that it's awesome. I mean, I've said that. We talked about it. We all toured it. We did the live podcast there, over Christmas break. It's awesome. You don't need me to tell you that again. One thing I did do that was kind of funny that I did notice it has since been deleted is when you go to, this is a stupid 3rd grade humor, but I find it funny. When you go to the sauna, you set you create your favorites. You create you label it your name or whatever, and you make it your favorite. I set the heat the highest heat, and you set for the timing and the lights, are they on or off? So it's your setting. And like I said, this is 3rd grade humor, but I thought it was funny. I put Ted was here. Came back and it was gone a week later. So again, it's pretty dumb, but it made me snicker to myself as I did it.
No, it would, because you picture if Ted showed up, a couple hours later and saw Ted was here.
Right.
I'm sure you'd be like, who the hell was this? Oh,
well, it was also funny. It was WAZ. There's something funnier about making it WAZ instead of WAS. So.
It's like when you would get high score on an arcade game and you put in a swear word or something like that.
Oh, well, all good stuff, fellas. I mean, it's great to hear Matt that you had that opportunity and rubbing some shoulders there with some of the celebs. And how were the fans? Last question: how were the fans that were in the lobby? Were they hawking for autographs for the different players and coaches that you saw, or were they being pretty cool?
I think that there were definitely. I mean, they were lining up near the tunnels, trying to get some autographs and stuff. I did see people would line up where the team buses would come out to see the players and teams leave. One cool thing though, I think I tweeted it out, but a bunch of the Duke players, after they cut the nets down, I stayed on the floor for a little while. A few players stayed and took selfies and were signing kids, basketballs or their signs or their programs or whatever. I mean, for a good 20, 30 minutes. And they were taking every selfie. They were going around. I thought that was really cool for 18, 19-year-old, college basketball players to, recognize that this is a really cool moment for the fans. A few of them, they were going person to person, selfie, 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 selfie. So I was just sitting there watching. I was soaking it in. I was like, this is actually really cool. I was impressed.
What an atmosphere. That's tremendous. Well, we'll talk a little bit other atmosphere in high school sports. We'll have the prep spotlight coming up here in just a second. All right, guys, we'll get right into it here. The prep spotlight brought to everybody by Capital Sports Fieldhouse. We'll just start with the boys basketball game that was recorded last night. Langsburg over Jonesville, 61-54. Jared, I was keeping you updated on the score periodically, and Langsburg jumped out to a 9-0 start. And I mean, Jonesville actually outscored them from that point on. So that tells you how good that team was. They had 3 guys that were really solid at about 6'6". They had a couple pretty decent guards. And what I liked about it, this gym, even though I had no service, this gym was loud, man. It was rocking in there, and both cheering sections. And I got to give a lot of credit to Langsburg. They blew out Jonesville cheering section. They just blasted them out of the gym. They traveled real well and they were loud. But again, this guy's got to be first team All-State Division III, I think. Xander Woodruff, 32 points, 8 of 8 from the free throw line, 4 triples, and he's a junior, and he's definitely their leader. And there was a real scary moment. I think it was a little bit before halftime. He put up a jumper, hit the shot, looked like he was fouled, went down on the floor, and it looked like he either twisted his ankle or his knee. And he was down for quite a significant period of time. And trainer came out, came to the sidelines. Apparently it wasn't serious. He came back in, showed no signs of it. And I tell you what, that's huge. Because if he goes down, even though Langsburg has a lot of good players, that is major. So it was good victory for him.
Yeah, it seems like every time we talk about Lanesburg, you're saying that he's scoring 30, 35 points. So yeah, if you lose him, that's going to be a tough blow. I do know, I know I've mentioned that I have my sister teaches at Lanesburg, and so they're in involved in the community. My brother-in-law and one of my nephews did drive to the game. So you're not kidding. I listened to. I was going to mention, I listened to the first, a couple minutes of your call because I know that they start out 9-0, like you said. Right. So I was like, I kind of want to hear how that, how that run started. Man, it was loud coming through your broadcast, those fans.
Yeah.
And then one more thing I saw, I think they play Michigan Center tomorrow night in the regional finals. They're one of their Twitter pages, either their basketball or, their school Twitter page, tweeted out like buy tickets early because Langsburg travels well. And we know Coach Morrill, when we had him on, he talked about that, how the community support is so great for Langsburg. So it's definitely cool. And I'm sure tomorrow's going to be no different.
Oh yeah. I was just because curiosity got the best of me. We all remember that 2013, one of the best games. Ted, I'm surprised in your write-up with Jerome Murphy that this wasn't mentioned as one of your all-time, moments was Lanesburg's run in 2013.
Yeah.
When they played Flint Beecher, Monty Morris kind of had like a Jordan type flu game where he was in and out of the game, running to the locker room, running back out. And Lanesburg ended up losing 40-39. But I saw video of their student section. It's like a Division I student section, man. Right. Which it's terrible that the MHSA switched it. Now the student sections are on the opposite side. But back then they were right behind the bench, and it was huge. It was a sea of red. And I just know that's what it's going to be like on Wednesday. Yeah. So
yeah, that's a good call, Jared, because that was a highlight game and a highlight run by Greg Mitchell and that team, man. I thought they were going to pull the upset of the ages and knock out Beecher. It was that close. Langsburg had the ball in the last possession with a chance for the win. They lost by 1. They make a 2-pointer. They win, and they turned it over. Kind of an unforced error, trying to go a little too fast with the basketball.
One thing I did see, and I was very puzzled. Ted, you normally have the inside scoop on this type of thing.
So we'll see.
So Corona versus Flint Hamady on Friday night.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it was at Chesaning. The Chesaning students decided to basically form their own student section for Flint Hamady. And what I tell you, it was a raucous student section. They, at one point, the Corona student section and the Chesaning student section were chanting like defense, like offense, and like they were just overpowering them. It took until a few days later for me to realize there was Chesaning students in the student section. And I just thought that was what a comically, like, I just would never be a part of that student section. I hate to say it. I mean, they just got spanked by Corona a couple nights before that. And now they're all gathered up in the crowd cheering against Corona. I just reading that story. I think it was Sam Ali that posted it.
Yeah,
I was very puzzled by what exactly went down that Friday night, but it's hilarious nonetheless.
I'm gonna be honest. I saw that tweet that you're talking about, and I remember reading the headline and just kind of be like, "Oh, that's weird," and kind of moved on. I didn't really think it went that far. That like the Chesaning students showed up to like rally against Corona. That is,
they like stormed the court. They stormed the court, and in post-game interview, the Flint Hamady guy was saying how awesome they were.
Yes,
like
they did.
He basically sounded like he had never heard of Chesaning, but he's like, "Yeah, Chesaning's awesome. I love Chesaning." It was Ted. I need you to do some deep diving with Jerome Murphy or something and figure out what the hell happened that night.
I'll see what I can do, but I just reading between the lines a little bit. You said it. Corona. Chesaning was having a hell of a season, and Corona knocked them out on Chesaning's court, so they had no love lost for Corona. And a little inside baseball for you. I'm not going to name names, but I did have a chance to chat with an athletic director in the MMAC, not one of our Corona guys, but somebody else. And I said, hey, man, it sure would be good to see Corona in this league. He said, not going to happen. It wasn't because of him. He said, there is still a lot of bad blood with a couple of the other schools out there that want nothing to do with Corona being in that league. How about that?
We don't need to get into all that. I just don't understand it.
It's been a long time since that
Right,
bad blood started, you know?
Right. It's
Yeah,
a
I don't know
shame,
who you're talking
especially
about.
because we've talked about it a lot on this podcast. There's so many cool rivalries
Yes.
that you could have. And
but I will say this, and I'm not going to really give a big knock to the MMAC, but we did see, it's a good competitive league for the teams that are in there. But when they maybe step up a little bit, maybe not as strong as we think. Maybe Corona is right where they need to be in the Flint Metro League, you know.
True.
So be it, right?
Yep.
I know there was a couple of switches with the CMAC, Perry's joining along with Lansing Christian. Ovid Elsie applied for joining the Central Michigan Athletic Conference and were turned down. So
it's funny that you have to apply to that. I mean, I know you can't just be jumping all over the place, but
mm-hmm.
Speaking of OE, did I see the girls team is moving on? I think I saw they're playing tonight.
Yeah, that was the other story I had. I mean, they knocked off number 6 Dansville in the regional final. And get this, talk about defense. I mean, Langsburg plays real lockdown defense, the boys. Marauders beat Dansville 35-12. 12 points, the final score. Unbelievable, in a regional final. So the good thing for Ovid Elsie and their coach, Ryan Cunningham, they start 4 juniors. So, wow. I mean, they're going to be awful good next year. And they're playing, like you said, as we're recording this on Tuesday night. Michigan at the moment's 10 points up. The Marauder game's probably getting close to being over. We may be able to find it online, huh, Jared?
That's what I'm trying to find right now. Yeah, I saw they were tied 35-35 at the end of the third, but I don't know. Give me a second. I'll find it.
Yeah, no problem. But I mean, that's been quite a season there. And I think they're the deepest they've been since 1984, 83. They had a couple of really good ladies teams. I think they made it all the way to the semifinals. One of those years, I think 83. But congratulations. That's awesome for the Marauders.
It is cool. I mean, man, I know the boys team didn't make it as far, but a couple good programs going on right now for OE.
Yeah, absolutely. So
45-41, they lost.
Oh, bummer. So season comes to an end. So we're down to the Langsburg boys. And by the way, I'll be there with Joe tomorrow night. We're going to record the game so we can pop it on our 3 Point podcast site. So, all Langsburg is going to be at the gym anyway. So the people can listen to it later on and relive those great memories. Hopefully a Wolfpack W. All right, we're going to have our regular sports potpourri. It's March Madness time, and I'd love to hear especially Jared's thoughts going into the tournament, because he has a few strong opinions usually, and we know one of them is the Big Ten, bet against them all the way through. But we'll get more into that right after this.
Yeah, so I'll just jump right into it. This is my favorite week of the year. I love it. I mean, I know, Matt, I think you're going to talk about The Last of Us, the last episode. I haven't had a chance to watch it. Any waking second I have a free time, I'm watching bracketology shows. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter what station, doesn't matter. I watched some random 3 guys. It looked like it was like CBS's like C team. And I watched an hour like show of them breaking it down. I absorb it all, man. As I've said before, I don't ever really win brackets, but when it comes to the first weekend, I'm like, when you look at my tombstone when I die, it'll say first weekend champion every year. You guys know it. Every year when we do our 3 Point podcast bracket, which join, after that first weekend, it always irritates you guys because my name's right up there at the top. It always is. And so I just feel like I have a great inkling with this first weekend. After that, I kind of fall apart. I kind of blame part of that on the fact that I always take kind of a dark horse to win it all, because one of the very first years I ever did a bracket, I ended up losing by 10 points because I had the same champion as somebody else, and he had a first round pick that I didn't have. And so the whole way of the tournament, I knew I couldn't win because he was always 10 points ahead of me. So ever since then, it's kind of been my thing is where I pick a dark horse. So I'm going to save some of my – I have a whole upset list I'm going to go through. Maybe we just start with our Final Fours. I have my whole bracket here. I'll start with the Final Four, and we'll kind of work our way back. I have Alabama coming out of the South. That's an obvious pick. Everybody has that pick. So I'm not reinventing the wheel with that one. I have Houston, although I will say I'm very nervous about Houston's second round matchup if it's against Auburn. That game will be played in Birmingham, Alabama. Going to be a big time home game for Auburn.
Yeah.
Though that 1 versus 8 or 9 is always a scary game. It doesn't matter how good you are as a 1 seed or how poor that 8 or 9 seed is. It's always a scary matchup. Then I have UCLA in the West, and then I have my kind of big upset type, fairy tale type run would be Kentucky. And then I end up having UCLA win it all. So
no.
We can break down individual games from there, but that's just in general, that's my Final Four.
Yeah. I mean, I any picks that you make, it's such a crapshoot. I mean, I was watching a couple too. Like, Jay Billis did this whole breakdown. He picked every game. So I watched his thing, and I watched a couple other experts, making their picks. And it's like, I don't care if you know everything there is to know about college basketball. It's just, you got to get lucky. I mean, yes, there are like certain trends or, certain matchups that might be bad, styles of play and stuff like that. Sure. You can look into that stuff and, do a little analysis, make some smart picks. Otherwise, I mean, you just got to get lucky. You got to get lucky on picking the certain upsets or whatever. But, the Big Ten thing that Ted mentioned, I'm never trusting a Big Ten team. Purdue being a number 1 seed. Nope. I saw someone tweeted out like a poll, like what number 1 seed is more likely to lose or something like that. And Purdue was like 75% of the votes. Like no one trusts them. Even if you have a Zach Edey, it's just like, I don't know what it is about Big Ten teams. They always come up short. Michigan really is the one team that's had some success recently. Yeah. Obviously Michigan State has a little bit too, but so anyway, I'm definitely, definitely not Purdue. Out of that region, I'm all in on Duke. I don't know if it's because I was just watching them all this past weekend at the ACC tournament, but they are playing really well. Filipowski and some of the other dudes, Proctor and Roach and some of the other guys. I mean, Shire has those guys playing some good basketball. So I'm all in on Duke, and I'm picking them to win it. They're my winner. Up top, probably the same thing. I think Virginia is going to come through that one. I don't really trust Alabama. Brandon Miller, everything that's going on with him. I've watched a lot of Alabama this year. Very talented, but they're young. Brandon Miller is pretty inconsistent. He had some distractions off the court, and Virginia is just so well coached. Tony Bennett is watching them play basketball, and watching them play basketball and then watching Michigan is just like one team is incredibly well coached. I'm not saying Juwan Howard's a bad coach, but watching how they execute is so different. So that South region, I'm picking Virginia. The Midwest, I think most of the time, because I did fill out a few, I think I went with Houston most of the time out of that Midwest, just really no other reason. I do think Penn State could be sneaky. I mean, bagging on the Big Ten. They're that team that's playing really well right now. Mm-hmm. No, I know it's Penn State.
They are.
What are we talking about? Penn State basketball. I don't even know. They're playing so well. So they might be that hot team coming into the tournament. Who knows? But I'm still sticking with Houston. And then on the other side, I would have went with UCLA, but they just had that major injury. So I don't know about that. I'm going with Gonzaga out of there. So Gonzaga, Houston, Duke, Virginia. Duke winning it all. That's what I'm going with.
Good picks. I'll tell you the truth, guys. I haven't made my Final Four picks. I haven't filled out a bracket, but I did a quick look at it, and maybe some of the teams I'm really looking at seriously. A couple of them are the ones you had there, Matt. I mean, Virginia. I have them on that left upper side. I'm looking for them to go real deep. I don't know if they're going to make my Final Four yet or not. And Duke, I also had them penciled in that they're playing good basketball out of a good league, and I think it's a good story there with Shire taking over for Coach K, maybe trying to set his own legacy. On the bottom right side of the bracket, I like Gonzaga too, but I also like Arkansas maybe to make a little noise in the tournament as well. The way they play, and they're coached by Musselman. He does a pretty good job there. And on the upper side, I was right with you, Jared. I would worry about that Houston-Auburn game as well. I think Auburn plays very good basketball. It's going to be in Birmingham. And, the SEC this year, real tough league, maybe the toughest league along with the Big 12. So I don't know. I don't have my Final Four yet. I will tell you this, though. I'm going to play the 3-Point Podcast Bracket Challenge. I'm going to play a couple other ones. But hold on. My bracket's going to be the same on all of them. All right? Slow down. Slow down, mister.
I find that was one thing you've actually changed your opinion on over the course of this podcast. You used to be famous where, I mean, you're such a money grabber that you would fill out 10 different ones and put them in 10 different pools.
A lot of people do, buddy.
One game we got to hone in real quick before maybe we go. I'll go through my upsets. I mean, Michigan State versus USC. Michigan State 1.5-point favorite. Just some facts about Michigan State and Izzo kind of as of late. This is a shocking statistic I saw on Twitter this week. Tom Izzo and Michigan State have not made it out of the first weekend in 7 of the last 8 tournaments they've been.
Whoa.
I mean, this is a judgment game for Michigan State and for Tom Izzo. I really do feel that.
No, it shouldn't be, right? Because it's January, February Izzo. I mean, that stat can't be true.
Right.
They win. They make it to the Final Four every year, right?
It's concerning. It's a concerning stat. It's a jarring stat. I don't know how we've never picked up on that.
It shouldn't be. They haven't won a national title in 23 years. It should not be.
It really shouldn't. I'm playing devil's advocate here with Izzo. Like you said, the whole March, he owns March, dominates March. It's a shocking statistic.
Yeah.
They got their work cut out for him, man. USC is flipping no slouch. You guys know, as you guys have already alluded to, my kind of rules. Fade the Big Ten. Always bet on the Pac-12 and the SEC. Those are usually my 3 kind of conferences that I align with pretty much every tournament. Usually doesn't lead me astray. We saw it with the ACC last year with Duke and North Carolina. Big Ten, like every other year, fizzled out other than Michigan. Like you said, they always kind of exceed expectations, whatever their expectations are this year. But Michigan State, it's kind of now or never. I will say, you look at how they're built. I mean, 39.5% of their from three-point land this year. I mean, they make 76% of their free throws. If I saw that just on like paper, I would say, oh, this is a good tournament team. I want to bet on this team. But we know from watching this whole year, they're inconsistent. They're not clutch. The guard play comes and goes. We saw Izzo freaking out on Hoggard and Hoggard having almost no expression last week. I think we're in line for a Izzo type freak out. Like we remember the Aaron Henry freak out round 1 of that tournament. We remember the UCLA halftime freak out in the play-in game a couple years ago. I really think with like 16 minutes or so left in the second half, Izzo is going to be reaming into somebody, and it's not going to be good. I have USC in this game, but I'm definitely picking that with my heart and not my head. Like I said, Michigan State's a great tournament team. The one thing I'd hold off hope for if I'm Michigan State is Joey Hauser. I could see a 5 for 8 from 3 land game, 6 for 8 from 3 land. I could see that, but other than that, I think they're in trouble.
How much do you weigh the location? Because they are playing in Columbus too. I mean, you got to look at locations of where the games are and some of these matchups. USC's coming all the way across country. Do you put like 3 points on that as a swing to the like Michigan State in that
There's going to be a lot of MSU fans there too.
Yes, there will.
It's a big deal. I mean, you heard me talking about that with Auburn. I think that if this is on the West Coast, I think USC is probably a 2-point favorite. I bet you it's a 4-point swing. It's going to be filled with State fans. You can't shake that statistic I just threw out there. Now, obviously, Marquette would be waiting for them if they won. Which if I'm a Marquette fan, I am very nervous about whoever wins this game in that next round matchup. But no, from this team I've seen all year. It's the team I've watched more than anyone, even more than Michigan. Thank God. Thank God I don't have to watch another second of them, even if they're in the NIT. I just don't trust them. There's nobody you trust on this team. There's nobody you say, go win us a national championship. Right. So for that reason, I'm going to lean with what history has told us, which is don't bet the Big Ten. And in 7 of the last 8 years, it's don't bet Michigan State.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. Is Hauser going to be the guy that steps up for him? Walker's been playing well. Malik, we keep going. They don't have a Cassius Winston. They don't even have a Xavier Tillman. They don't have a guy like that they can just count on. Maybe Hauser. He is playing well lately. My thing is, it almost feels like the USC game is almost like a coin flip. I almost feel like this is going to be one of those Izzo years. If they can beat USC, they're going to beat Marquette and get to the Sweet 16. Like, I just feel like if they can get past USC and get those stats that you're talking about, Jared, kind of get that a little bit off their back, they're going to go into that Marquette game saying, we can win this. Let's get to the Sweet 16. We got this. Because Marquette, they're a 2 seed, but they haven't been blowing people out of the water all season. All of college basketball, people have been up and down. So I wouldn't be surprised either way. Michigan State comes out firing on all cylinders and looks like they're about to make a little noise, or they come out flat and lose by 15. Because
are you still considering that one, Matt? I mean, we know Jared's out.
I picked Michigan State to beat USC, and but then I have Marquette beating them. Like Jared kind of said, maybe with my heart, I just don't think they're a Sweet 16 team. But I wouldn't be shocked if they did it.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that would really, and honestly, this may be the biggest thing of them all is, I mean, USC's guard, there are two guards that are studs. I mean, two senior guards averaging 18 and 14 a game and like 4 assists and 4 rebounds apiece, each of them. Boogie Ellis is one of them. That just worries me. Yeah. You need guards in March. We know that. Michigan State is definitely stronger at guard than they are at center. I mean, Sissoko, after kind of lighting it up against Gonzaga game 1, I thought he was going to be a stud this year, has done nothing. So I'm worried about them. Ted, you're the Izzo defender. I mean, do you consider this like kind of a judgment game?
It is kind of a judgment game. You know, he's got the all-time record for making it into the tournament. You know, he's got that. At least he can put his hat on. But it is kind of a judgment thing. I mean, you laid out the stats perfectly. I mean, State can't falter in this game without getting a lot of grief, and a lot of it's going to be pointed at Coach Izzo. You know, I mean, every coach reaches the end of the line somewhere, and I don't think he wants to reach it this year. So he's going to do everything in his power to get by USC, and like Matt said, maybe pull an upset over Marquette and make a Sweet 16. And that would really, if you think about it, I'm not sure how long he's going to coach, but if he decides, let's just say out of the blue, says this is it after this season, a Sweet 16 appearance would kind of solidify his legacy. You know,
and I mean, they played Duke tight last year, if you remember, in the round of 32 last year. And Duke was a lot better than Marquette is, I think. So you just got to survive this game. It's a coin flip game.
It is.
You're going to find out who you really are, Michigan State and Michigan State fans. And if they win this game, I'd be feeling good heading into the round of 32 game. But you just you're going to figure out who you are in about that first 10 minutes of this USC game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go sentimental and just go with my elder statesman Izzo in that one. I'm going to pick Michigan State in that game.
That whole 25 tournament streak. Okay, that's impressive. They were below 500 in the Big Ten this year. I'm kind of not sure how they made the tournament. A couple of years ago, they're in the play-in, and they lose the first game in the play-in. So if we want to count that as them making the tournament, I guess that counts. But let's give them credit. 25 in a row. All right.
Let's face it, Matt. You are an MSU hater, man.
Not MSU.
There ain't no getting around it. Yes,
not necessarily MSU. It's mostly
I don't know.
Izzo. It's mostly Izzo.
Oh, it's Izzo. Okay.
I'm the first one to jump on a lot of things. I will say the plan, like, yes, it is kind of a asterisk, but it is what it is. That is the tournament. I mean,
it's funny, the tournament
they lost to in the play-in that they were beating by 15 at halftime, ended up in the championship game that year, or the Final Four, excuse me. So it kind of is what it is. It is a part of the tournament. If you're an 11 seed in the play-in, you're in the tournament, in my book.
One final question on that, because I saw Reggie Walker posted it. Do you think the play-in games should be playing for a couple of 11 spots? Don't you think they all should be 16s or not?
I've always thought that's weird how they do that. Like a couple of them are for 16s. The other one, like I would think the play-ins should be literally the last, 8 teams
I would think so
selected.
Too.
But
I don't hate it. No one's going to watch it. No, they might as well not even do the play-in if it's just 16 seeds. So no, because this way you still get all the mid-majors that win their conference. They all get in, and you still get a couple of these bubble teams. And we've seen it. I mean, there's been 2 or 3 times where that play-in team makes a run. That's why, I mean, UCLA, VCU way back when. That's why every year I'll pick and here's what I think. I think that when you win that play-in game, I think it's a huge advantage. I really do. It sucks that you have to play it, but if you somehow survive, you got your feet wet in the tournament. You just had a big confidence booster win. We've seen it propel a lot of teams, and that's why I always take the play-in seed to win 1 or 2 games every single year.
Does your list, Jared, have any of the playoff or play-in teams winning a game or so?
Yeah, I have them both. I have them both, and then I have Mississippi State or Pittsburgh. I have them in a Sweet 16.
Okay.
So I'm kind of the doctor of upsets. So let me just kind of roll through some of them that I have on the list. You guys are going to be a little bit nervous about one of them. I'll just say that. First one. This is a lock. You guys should change your bracket right now if you don't have it. Kent State to the Sweet 16. Indiana. What an overseed. They are not that good, man. Right. How are they a 4 seed? Genuinely. How are they a 4 seed? They lost early in the Big Ten tournament. The Big Ten regular season, they were in the pack with all the rest of the scrubs like Michigan. How in God's green earth did they earn this 4 seed? They are overseeded because of brand, that alone. Meanwhile, Kent State isn't scared of anyone. Lost to Houston by 5, lost to Gonzaga by I think 6. They're senior heavy. if you remember, they actually should have been in the tournament last year, but due to sanctions, they were not able to play in the game. They have the MAC Player of the Year on their team. I mean, 3 seniors in the starting lineup. I love everything about Kent State. And the MAC, as we saw with Ohio a couple years ago with Jalen Preston, they've been kind of putting up some good teams lately. Buffalo, Ohio, this year, Kent State. I'm telling you, Kent State's going to upset Indiana. And at that point, you might as well just take them to win the next round, too.
I think I have that was definitely a game I went back and forth on, and I did end up picking them to beat Indiana, basically because of what you said. Indiana, how are they a 4 seed? I think people just overvalue the Big Ten so often. But maybe this is just the year you have to overvalue someone because everyone is just so middle of the road. But that's a good one.
Do you have them beaten Miami, or do you have them beaten Drake?
I haven't played. No, I didn't mention the Drake pick. Everyone's on Drake. It's really not even an upset at this point. I love Drake. They have an NBA player because his dad's the coach. They are also very senior laden, and I love that they shoot the 3 ball. But no, I because they are not even really an upset at this point, I'm not going to consider them. But I did pick Drake in that game. My next big one. This is the biggest one of them all. This is the granddaddy of them all. If this happens, Ted, you have to send me $25 before you even hear it. I have Colgate beating Texas round 1. That's a 15 over a 2. Now, before you say anything, here's why. Raiders are the best 3-point shooting team in the country, 41%. All 5 starters are in double digits. They don't turn the ball over. They just beat Syracuse last month. Obviously, it's a long shot. They just won their conference tournament final against Lafayette by 20 points. It's a long shot. I get that. They're on an 11-game win streak. I got a good feeling about this group, man. They're undersized. They're chippy. They can stroke the ball. And they slow it down to a screeching halt. And Texas, something about Texas, they're kind of the trendy team. Whenever there's the trendy team, they never pan out. Yeah. And sometimes you got to take a few swings in your bracket to have some fun, know that you're living, know that your heart's racing. And that's this one for me, man. Colgate over Texas. That's a 15 over a 2.
Wow.
I know, yeah. Texas is the trendy pick because they just smashed their way through the Big 12 tournament and crushed Kansas in the title game. But my thing is, they don't have a head coach. I mean, like they had a whole coaching situation go on mid-season, but I've seen some people say, and they've drawn comparisons, different situations, but Ted, you definitely remember vividly, 1989, a similar thing happened with Michigan. Coaching change kind of mid-season, end of the season. Michigan makes a run with a new coach, Steve Fisher, wins a national title. I've seen some people say maybe that's going to be Texas this year. You know, they rally behind the whole coaching situation that went on and make a run. But they're also, I don't really trust anyone from the Big 12 a whole lot. I mean, Kansas, but Kansas, Bill Self is going through his whole health issues right now too. So maybe they're going to rally behind Bill Self, but I like that. I didn't do that. I might have to go back and
dude, I'm telling you,
might have to go back and revisit this.
You have to take one big swing every year because that 1 out of 20 years that you hit it, you're walking on cloud 9, man.
Yeah, that's a good swing, Jared. I see it though that I still would go with Texas in that game, but I see that as one of those, first day matchups that it comes right down to the wire, and I just see Texas hanging on, but Colgate giving them a good run. I hope I'm wrong.
Here's also my thought with a lot of brackets. So we mentioned Texas A&M versus Penn State. I think Texas A&M, you talk about a team that was underseeded, it's Texas A&M. I mean, I think they won 26 games. I think they're good. And here's the thing
look at their schedule. They didn't beat anyone they played that was good. They did not beat.
That's fair.
All their wins are against Eastern Michigan and Grand Valley State. I mean,
hey, you can only play who's in. Hey, they didn't lose to Central Michigan. We all know how that can happen.
That's why Michigan's in NIT.
Here's more than almost. This is basically a sight unseen pick. When you get these kind of upset, Texas A&M versus Texas games. I remember way back when, worst day of my life. Right when I think I've told some story before, when Warren Buffett announced the $1 billion prize if you pick a perfect bracket.
Oh, right.
I obsessed over that for a week. I literally probably 10 hours a day. That's all I did during school. That's all I did when I got home from school. I was up till midnight, looking over brackets, looking over everything. Dayton versus Ohio State, game number 1, Thursday, 12:15 tip, and Ohio State loses. And just like that, the perfect bracket was over. Ever since then, I've learned the lesson. If you guys remember, I picked Chicago Loyola to beat Illinois a couple years ago. When you have these rivalries and it's kind of the team that's kind of looked down as like a little brother, like Michigan and Michigan State in football, I always will take that upset every time. That's like Kent State and Indiana. Yeah, they're not necessarily. I don't think they're the same state, right? It's
No.
Ohio, I believe.
Yeah.
But
Kent State's Ohio.
Close enough.
But a lot of those kids that went to Kent State were definitely wanted to go to Indiana, I bet. So they feel slighted. So the reason I did that is because if I'm going to have Texas losing that game anyway, I might as well just take a ringer and say, I'm going to take Colgate to beat Texas. Why not? Let's throw a hat in the ring. Real quick.
Texas A&M could be good. Buzz Williams is a good coach. They've got talent. They just, if you look at their schedule, it might make you second guess that. But
Buzz Williams has burned me a lot.
You never know.
I will say that. So this obviously easily could be another burning by Buzz Williams, but I'll take my chances. Texas is just, that program seems to kind of blow it every year. So that's the way I look at it. We mentioned this, Matt. I think you might be on the same page with this. Memphis over Purdue in round 2. Now I'm nervous that Memphis might not make it out of round 1. I wish that FAU was a 9 seed in almost any other 8-9 game. I would take them to win other than Memphis. Memphis is a tough matchup. Purdue, they're just not that good. I feel like Big Ten teams couldn't quite figure out that if you just press this team and give their guards a little bit of pressure, they will collapse. We saw Penn State finally figure it out at the end of the Big Ten championship game.
Yep.
You need guards, not Zach Edey, to win a national championship. And I just think Memphis is an all-time bad draw, almost a big FU from the NCAA to Purdue. And I just think they're going to get upset round 2.
Memphis is playing well too. Penny Hardaway has those guys playing well. They won their conference tournament, and that just might be one of those. I was kind of talking trash or whatever about experts, or thinking that you can outsmart the bracket, but you kind of laid it out. That might be one of those where you look at trends, numbers, style of play, and if Memphis can get to the second round and Purdue, that Memphis might have the style of play that Purdue just can't match up with.
Mm-hmm.
And so that might be one of those. Or I agree with everything you said about Zach Edey. I just don't think he's one to carry them to the Final Four, but he is really good. So I feel like it could go one of two ways. If he just has an all-time tournament, they just start dumping the ball and he starts scoring 30, 35 a night, he could. But yeah, usually you got to have guard play. You've got to have good guard play.
If you guys remember the Iowa versus Oregon game from 2 years ago, Luka Garza, where Iowa just
perfect example
off the floor by 30. I could see that happening.
Yeah,
I could see Purdue winning by 20, but I could definitely see a scenario where Memphis just what in the world? Where did this team come from?
Right.
And they just look like a 10 times better team.
Well, you see these other schools and these other teams, that you don't get a chance to see all year long. I mean, they're putting the ball up and down the court, Is Edey going to be able to keep up with that kind of pace and some of their other players, Right. That's the thing I love about the tournament. I mean, the pace of play, you usually don't see a lot of slowdown stuff. Maybe Princeton when they played in it, but other teams,
Virginia,
they push it up the court.
Virginia definitely slows it down, makes people play their style. But I think that's what comes back to bite Big Ten teams a lot. Big Ten basketball is a little slower. Right. Teams usually have a big guy like Dickinson or Zach Edey. And these other teams, they don't do that. They're Colgate. They're jacking up a bunch of threes and, playing that kind of style. So It should be a good tournament. I mean, it's one of those where there's really no clear cut number one, favorite that everyone is picking. There's been some injuries too. So I think
what I like about this year's layout. I really do. There's not a clear cut favorite really when you look at the whole bracket.
I can't wait to get this damn thing rolling already, man. Yeah. I got one last pick for you guys. Then I'll shut up for a while. Okay, so this is something I kind of noticed right before we started recording. I'm gonna keep it. It definitely seems dumb, but I'm gonna keep it. So I have every single 13 seed beating the 4 seed. I just noticed that.
Wow.
I'm gonna hone in on one of them.
So you've got Virginia losing in the first round.
Furman is I think number 4 in the country in assists, and they shoot the hell out of the ball. Virginia is only a 5-point favorite, I think, in that game. It'd make me very nervous. We know how Virginia is. I mean, just their play style. Every game is close.
Yeah.
So if this team makes a couple threes, gets out to a 6, 7, 8-point lead, it's a whole different ballgame. So I'm nervous about it. That's the one that I'm the least confident about is Furman, but I'm keeping it just because I put it and I'm locking it in. But I like Iona over UConn. This game is in New York.
Funny, a lot of people are in on UConn being kind of the sleeper Final.
They're the trendy team. Trend. I actually went through and marked the quote unquote trendy teams because they never do well. Sorry, Matt. It's Duke. It's Duke. It is who do we just name?
UConn.
It is Duke. It's UConn. It is Marquette, and those 3.
Mm-hmm.
They never do well. The trendy team never pans out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Duke, everything about Duke, I took everything in my power not to pick them to the Final Four, just because of that reason. Because I knew everybody's on this team. They're playing hot. They won their tournament. Everything on paper looks like they should make it there, but I just couldn't because of the trendiness. I couldn't do it. But anyway, Iona. Pitino, man, he's going against Kentucky or Connecticut staff that has never won an NCAA tournament game. UConn's a 10-point favorite. Listen, everyone's on UConn. Are we forgetting about Iona? I mean, I believe they've won. Let me make sure I'm right on this. They've won, I think, 13 straight games. I mean, they are freaking rolling. These mid-major teams are senior laden, and Rick Pitino is going to have the leg up in the coaching competition. We know he might be going to St. John's, which is another kind of interesting part of this. This is a game in New York. Right. It's going to be a solid Iona crowd. Obviously, UConn will travel pretty well as well, but Pitino as an underdog, 13 seed. He's been in the tournament a few times. This is the highest seed they've been. This is the first time you can really kind of bet on them, where they're not a 15. I love it. I just really think he's going to take Dan Hurley to school, and he's going to show that he's kind of still one of the best college or coaches in the nation. And I'm loving it, man. This is a big time game for Iona. They're going to win it.
Yeah, that is kind of the one thing. Even though I'm high on Duke, again, probably partly because of what I did last weekend, but they're younger. So even though they're playing really well, Filipowski is a true freshman. So, is he going to be, kind of like the Duke team that Michigan State beat with Cassius Winston, when Duke had Zion and all those guys? Is it going to be kind of one of those situations? They run up against a team that is just senior laden, like you keep laying out, that's just playing better team basketball or whatever. So it happens every year. How often is it just chalk the whole way? Maybe when you get to the Elite Eight or Final Four, it ends up a lot of 1s and 2s. But those first couple rounds, there's always going to be a Furman, a Colgate, or something like that. A St. Mary's making a couple, pulling off a couple wins. Right. So we'll see. I mean, it is the best time of the year. I know, Ted, you always talk about it. The best 4 days, that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when it's just game after game after game.
It's awesome. And it's great because, now that I'm retired, I work from home, the work I do, this is my glory days, man. I'm having people over. My wife's already went shopping today. We've got the food for both days all lined up. It's going to be wall-to-wall basketball from noon to midnight, both days, man. It's going to be awesome.
That sounds magical, man.
It is. And it's, the best part about it, even we haven't talked about it. We're almost an hour into this podcast. Well, no, you mentioned it earlier. We did mention our sad Wolverines there that didn't make the tournament. Even since our Michigan Wolverines didn't make the tournament,
right?
It's almost like I almost don't even care. I'm still as excited. I might be more excited because now I can just watch the tournament and sit back
pressure,
and just be excited, for pleasure. But so let's mention them. We got to talk about them a quick minute. So they did make the NIT. They won their first round game against Toledo. That was actually going to be a iffy matchup. Jared, you were talking about the MAC. Toledo had a crazy talented team. Michigan ended up winning.
Started slow.
They ended up winning. Jet Howard probably is done. That's probably the last time we've seen him play at Michigan.
He didn't play in this game.
Dude, of course. Yeah, I'm so Jet Howard out. Can I just? I'm sorry, Matt, but
I put this. I'll just say real quick. I put this is like a football player opting out of a bowl. I think he's going to go pro. There's no reason for him to play in the NIT. I get what you're saying though, Jared.
Yeah, I mean, we all have been. Matt, you were kind of first to it. They're better without Jet Howard. They really were.
Well, think about it. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. When he was hurt, they went 3-0. He comes back, they lost 3 straight. I mean, does that mean anything?
Yeah, of course it does.
It does. And we saw it. I mean, game on the line, free throw. He doesn't box out. Guy for Rutgers gets the rebound, lays it up, and he throws his arms up like he doesn't know what the hell just happened. Like it wasn't at all his fault. Like I said, Jawan does not coach him like he does other guys. It's coaching. How do you look at that? And he doesn't come off the floor. He doesn't get benched for the next 10 minutes. Just whatever. Next on to the next play. Go run an isolation for him on the other end. I'm sick of this program. The fact you guys are watching this NIT games. Did you guys watch it?
It was on in the background. I had it
on in the background here too.
Unbelievable. I spent way too many seconds watching that team this year. It was depressing. I felt like they never played that hard. The Jet Howard play perfectly encapsulates everything about this year. I don't know. I know they got some guys returning next year. I'm excited to watch him next year. I think they were better. Buffkin, like my dad told me, basically, it seemed like Buffkin really understood his role when Jet Howard wasn't there, but he kind of didn't really know what to do when Howard was there. So I'll be excited to see him and Dickinson back. But I'm ready to close the page on this 2023 season.
Yeah.
If they make it all the way to the championship of the NIT, I still won't watch.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I'm curious on both of your guys' thoughts, because I know how I feel. If so, say they make it to the NIT championship or win the NIT, like, does it matter? Does it show that they should have been in the NCAA tournament?
It would
just a waste of time. Like, where do you guys stand on Michigan in the NIT?
It would just reinforce the whole Jet Howard theory if he's not playing in it and they go on and win it. Obviously, they're not the greatest teams in the NIT, but it's the type of teams that they've been losing to all year. So that's what it would show me. Other than that, not much.
Yeah, I mean the NIT is the NIT, but it's Michigan, and I'm going to watch every game they play. And as long as I'm home to watch it, I will watch them play, just like I would Michigan State if they were in the NIT. But you guys know how I stand on Jet Howard. I still haven't figured out how he's a first-round NBA draft choice, but I guess top 30 in the country, that's what he is, right?
Potential. Huh? I think it's 100% potential. You know,
really?
I think you can see he can shoot. You can see he can score.
Yeah, a lot of players.
I think, anymore, that's what the NBA draft is.
Yeah.
You're drafting this freshman who you're hoping turns into the next Ja Morant or something like that. And I think that's what it'll be, because you can see he can shoot. I think he's got a long ways to go when defensively.
Yeah, you can see the effort's not there. That's the thing, the effort.
That's the one thing. What's the one thing a coach always tells you? That's the one thing you can control is your effort. And if he's not boxing out and he's not hustling back on defense, it's a bad look.
And that's one thing, like Dan Morrill, our local coach at Langsburg. I asked him a couple different times about it. I've told you they play tremendous defense, and I asked him about that, and he said, you know what? Defense is something you somewhat can control. Offense, you could have a bad night and not hit, but defense, you can sort of control that, and that's that. A lot of that goes unnoticed, but it's a big part of the game. And when it comes to defense, a whole lot of it is effort. It's hard work and it's effort. And I haven't seen that out of Jet Howard, but that's just me.
Yep. No, you're not wrong. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they do. I am curious to see. You mentioned Jared Buffkin and Dickinson coming back.
That'd be awesome.
I feel like Dickinson, I mean, he can do whatever he wants, but I feel like he probably should come back. And then why Buffkin, not? He's in that weird spot, Buffkin, because he finished the year strong. So could he go, ride this wave and go get drafted, come back for one more year and become a top 10 pick? If they both come back, next year's team could have something. But
Dougie's going to be pretty solid at point guard too.
Yeah, he can play. They've got some other young players. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get off the sports portion, fellers, NFL's going crazy right now with the different signings. It looks like the Lions, all the stuff I'm reading now, obviously they're not going to draft a cornerback number 6. They've signed a couple pretty decent cornerbacks to come join that defense. And Anzalone, Jared's favorite, re-signed for 3 years. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, you think they just go all in on the draft and don't worry about too much more free agent signings?
I mean, they had, I think they were like top 5 in cap space. So they've got a ton of money to spend, which clearly they've been doing. I love the 2 cornerbacks that they signed, because we know who knows what's going to happen with Okudah. Right. So, they definitely need to shore up their defensive backfield. I saw some people ripping the Anzalone signing. He earned the money. He led the team in tackles last year. And I think he's more like a leader type of guy, like I've said it a couple times, like a clubhouse guy.
100%.
He was with Dan Campbell for a few years. He knows the staff and everything. I put it more on that. He's a leader. Is he the best linebacker in the league? No, but he had 125 tackles last year. So, I mean, you got to be able to play if you have 125 tackles.
And I tell you what, I made fun of Anzalone all year. He never was my favorite player. Just seemed like he was kind of out-athleted a lot. But in 2 of the biggest games, I mean, against Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving, he had a pick. And then in the Packers game, he played great. So it's whatever. I'll ride with him. Seems like a good locker room and culture fit as well. I love the signings. Cam Sutton, I love always getting somebody from an organization like the Steelers. That he's going to be a good culture guy. And I feel like you can't have enough defensive backs. So I wouldn't hate even drafting another one at 18 or even at 6. Obviously, we need a rusher, pass rusher. But how excited are we for this year? I mean, obviously we're in college basketball mode. But Ted, have you ever been more excited for a draft?
Oh God, no, I haven't. I mean, this whole end of the season for the Lions and now leading up to what they got, in front of them and what they can build upon. Holmes has shown he knows what he's doing. Campbell has made me a real believer. Yeah, I'm excited. I will say this, though. I wasn't too excited about the Bears and the move they made. My God, did they immediately solidify themselves as a much better team? Wow.
Yeah, they're going all in on saying Justin Fields is the guy. I mean, they got him a wide receiver. They've stocked
Draft
up on
picks.
some defensive players, draft picks. So I think they saw Aaron Rodgers leaving, or likely, not official yet, but Aaron Rodgers leaving the division. The Lions, obviously, trending up. The Bears were like, we got to make some moves now.
Yeah.
We got to try and keep up. So the North is going to be interesting because, the Vikings are still solid. They're a solid team. So
if Rodgers goes.
Yeah, that's the big thing. If Rodgers does go, so
if he goes, it's the and even if he's back, it's the Lions' division to lose.
I think
so
too.
Vegas odds as well. It's now or never. You never know. I mean, we kind of see it with the Bills, where it's almost like, man, is their window closed? You never know how long your window is going to be open, especially with Justin Fields. I mean, he seems like he hasn't quite reached his potential. Could be a top quarterback in the league, and if that's the case, the window might be closed as soon as he kind of reaches his peak. So I'm not saying he is, but he could. So I don't know. This is going to be a really fun year. Let's just hope that it doesn't. The wind isn't taken out of our sails right away.
Amen.
Seems to kind of happen a lot in these years.
Last question on this fella is the Carolina situation. I see they just signed Andy Dalton. Yeah. He's probably going to be the fill-in guy. But who are they? What quarterback are they drafting? Are they going to draft Jared's guy? Are they going to go Bryce Young? Who are they drafting?
If I was them, I think Stroud. I think Bryce Young is good. I just worry about him staying on the field. If I knew Bryce Young was going to be healthy, I would draft him first. You can't predict that. I think CJ Stroud is the safest pick. I mean, we saw him against Georgia. We know, obviously, he struggled a little bit against Michigan a couple times, but I mean, that performance against Georgia alone earned him maybe the number one spot in my book. I mean, he was a man amongst boys. But no, that's who I would go with. Anthony Richardson, you guys know what I think about him, but I don't think you take him 1 overall.
I wouldn't think either.
No, I feel like even though they signed Dalton, I would think they're going to draft someone who they want to start right away. Yeah. And I don't think Anthony Richardson is that. So I would think, Stroud or Bryce Young probably. And they've got a solid backup. I'm curious to see what the Lions do at backup.
Yeah.
And Andy Dalton or a Gardner Minshew or something like that. Are they going to sign some veteran or are they going to draft?
What about Matt Ryan? Would he be able to fit in cap-wise as a backup, or his starting days are over, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll just say this, man. We are entering the prime runway of sports. It's this, and obviously like August, like the first weekend of college football when that starts. It's football season, and then it's this portion right now. We finally made it through the dog days. Yep. We have the dog days obviously coming up in July, August, that time period. But this is the great runway. We got, the NCAA tournament. Then we have Masters, NBA playoffs right after that. I mean, it's just get your popcorn ready. Ted's not going to leave his basement.
Probably not. Maybe just to go to the movie theater, and we'll talk about that. Yeah. Quick portion of Tedertainment Tonight to wrap up the program right after this. All right, fellas. I know, Jared, you haven't seen The Last of Us finale yet, season finale. But
can I just turn myself on like mute and you guys just talk it out? Or...
No, we won't give you any spoiler alerts. Yeah. Just to say this, that last couple episodes I thought were well done, kind of filled some gaps in the story. And I'll tell you right now, this girl that plays Ellie, I think she should win an Emmy or something, whatever awards they are out there, because I think she's a tremendous actress. I think she does a great job.
Bella Ramsey.
Yeah,
she's great. So I played the game. I couldn't remember because it was 8 years ago or something that I played the game. So I did kind of remember how it played out, I guess. I definitely forgot some of the whole where they came across the village that was a bunch of cannibals and he was maybe a pedophile, that dude that ended up trying to kill Ellie.
Has Jared seen that part yet?
Yeah, I've seen the episode.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd forgot about that whole part of the game. That was a pretty intense part of the game. But no, this show, I mean, it's like, Ted, you didn't play the game. So, I mean, nope. you had no idea what was going on. And and you're still like encapsulated by it. And
yeah,
you know, HBO knocks it out of the park every time. Pedro Pascal is fantastic. Like you said, the actress that plays Ellie, great. All the supporting roles. It's one of those, like, you could just keep going, and they're going to have a season 2. So, you know, you're curious to see what they do with that. You know, if they break the second game up into 2 seasons, I've seen some people say they might do that. So it's fantastic. I saw some criticisms like that there wasn't, you know, it wasn't necessarily like a zombie show. There really wasn't a whole lot of infected scenes. You know, it was more about Joel and Ellie's relationship and all, you know, all of that stuff, and how he, well, no spoiler, you know, whatever happened in that final the last episode,
right.
You know, it kind of turned more into that show. It wasn't like a zombie. It wasn't like zombies, blah blah blah. Let's kill a ton of zombies. It was more about that stuff, which I liked.
I think is more realistic to what the world would actually look like if this happened. I mean, it's The Walking Dead was just like that too, where there was no zombies, and that's probably the most successful outside of maybe The Last of Us is more critically acclaimed zombie show that's ever been out. No, I mean, think about what would happen if the world was actually taken over by these idiots that don't really have a brain. I mean, the humans that remained would that would probably be the real biggest threat of them at all. So no, I think it's great. That's what's interesting to me. I mean, the Bill episode where you see his Doomsday, these different weird communities they've stumbled across along the way. I think that's part of my favorite part.
Yeah. And you know, for any of our listeners that have not hopped on the train yet, just do the advice I think we've passed on. You know, to my wife, I said, stick with it, because she was about ready to bail out after episode 2. I said, you got to watch episode 3. And she hooked in completely, because that was just a really well written, well done episode. So that's what I think.
It's great. I can't wait for season 2 already.
So the last thing, were you guys happy with how it wrapped? Like, was the last episode, was it solid?
Yeah, I think so.
Like I said, I remember how the game went. Jared, I forget. Did you play the game?
I played parts. My next door neighbor was a big time gamer, so I watched him play it, but I never really sat and played the entire thing. No, so I don't know.
Do you remember how the game ends?
No, I don't remember.
Okay. So you don't know how it ends at all. No. So I kind of remembered how it ended with the game. This was a little different, but no, I like it. I love how it ended. I saw some people they did not like how it ended.
Really?
Yeah.
Kind of set up season 2 perfectly, I think. You know.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. I will say this: I'm probably a little bit on Jared's side. I know he bailed out of Yellowstone. I don't know what you think, Matt, of 1928, but the last couple episodes, I don't know. I think that it's just a little bit too much gratuitous violence, if you know what I mean. My wife can't take it. She says, "Tell me when it's over," and she plugs her ears, because there's just some nasty stuff going on, isn't there?
There are. Yeah, my wife did the same thing in these last couple episodes, and I get it's trying to, you know, develop the character who is doing those violent scenes. So I understand that, but I guess my thing is, you know, it's just I still like it. I still like it. I'm excited for the season to come back, because I want to see what happens. That's the biggest thing. It's like I want to see what happens. It just seems so far-fetched, some of the stuff. It's just like all right, man. Dutton, you know, the Harrison Ford character, he got shot like 12 times, and then it's like, and they're living out in like the mountains, and his wife is just like tending to him, and he's still alive, and now he's back riding a horse, and there's just some stuff that's like, I get it's a TV show, but like, all right,
I don't know why. Like, you look at the fork in the road with Yellowstone. I mean, obviously it's going to be great. You have Costner as the lead guy. You have this, what seems like an unlimited budget, beautiful scenery. They could have went the kind of Breaking Bad route, make it all as realistic as it could be, or they could go the kind of the route they went, which is almost comical. I liked it for the first few seasons, but it really wore thin for me. I know you guys are kind of similar, where you obviously have realized it's maybe fallen off a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wish I would have loved to have seen what this show would look like if they had went left instead of right with that.
That's a really good point, Jared. And that's kind of what I was leading into at the end here of 1928. Hopefully it picks up and focuses more on the storylines we want to see. But again, there was a real nasty, violent scene involving a couple of hookers that I have no idea where that could have been just eliminated as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Don't you think?
Like I said, I mean, they were trying to show that businessman
I
clearly
know.
is like a twisted person, but it's like you could have
Complete
done
freak.
something different. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know that you didn't have to do that, but you know, even the Spencer character who I like Spencer a lot, the nephew or whatever he is, but the whole love story with him and like like I get
carried
it,
on too much, man, too much.
Right? It's like, all right, we get it. They're in love and stuff like that, and then like the husband that she left, they bump into him, and it's just
right.
That's what I mean. Some of the stuff is just so far fetched. It's like, all right, this is entertaining, but I just want to know about the ranch. I just want to know about the ranch and
you and I will stick with it, but there are definitely some flaws there. I agree with you. I like it when they're at the ranch and they're dealing with the town folk and that stuff going on. All their
Speaking
other
of the town folk, the Irish dude, kind of the villain of
Banner.
the show. Yeah. He's great. I've said before, perfect. They casted the perfect guy for that role. Him as the villain. He might be my favorite character in this show. And you're rooting against him, but he's good.
He's a badass, man.
Yeah, he is.
All right. I think that'll do it. I mean, we had the Oscars and boy, Everything Everywhere All at Once just completely cleaned up on the awards. And I might have to watch it again because I lost something in the translation along the way. I thought it was a decent movie, but all the Oscars they won, that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, it really, I thought it was a good movie. It was a different type of movie, which is maybe why it has garnered so much like Oscar success because it's kind of the first of its kind. But I will say, and Ted, you probably know his name. He played Indiana Jones. He's in the Goonies. He was a child actor then who won, I think, Best Supporting Actor. I thought he was great in that movie. So I had no problem with him winning that one.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. He was definitely very good. And Brendan Fraser, who you never would have thought, Matt, he's from your era, basically, in the movies. Yeah. You never thought he'd be an Academy Award winner, but I got to see that movie, The Whale, because I guess he was phenomenal and won Best Actor. So congratulations to him.
Yeah.
Ke-Huy Quan is his name. Yeah,
what
a cool story that is from Indiana Jones. He hugged Harrison Ford, right, on stage when he accepted it. I mean, pretty cool.
Yeah. And he did do a good job in that movie. I'll tell you, I agree with you there. All right, guys, I think we've been rolling along.
I was going to say something real quick. We're talking Oscars. I'll bring this up. So that night, Sunday night, I was working the Lakers game. We did the Lakers. Who did they even play? I don't even, at this point, I've done so much. It was the Lakers anyway. It was in LA, and we were talking about it. It was at the same time as the Oscars. We were like, this is kind of crazy that the NBA would schedule a Lakers game home the same night as the Oscars. Like, it's just kind of crazy. But at the game, Denzel Washington and Spike Lee were at the game. And there was a couple other actors, that one of the dudes that was in Cool Runnings. There were a couple other actors there. And we were just like, Denzel and Spike were the main two ones. We were like, man, they clearly don't care about the Oscars that they're coming to the. Spike Lee was there, so they were playing the Knicks. They clearly must not care about the Oscars because they're at the Lakers game. Are they making a statement? That they'd rather go to the Lakers Knicks game than go to the Oscars. I just thought that was interesting.
That is. I wonder what the ratings were compared to the Oscars. The NBA game.
That's the real rating. Oscars.
What's that?
Did you watch Oscars?
I watched it on a tape delay basis on my DVR. I'm not going to sit there and watch all that stuff. I fast forward through the things I don't care about.
Right.
But we enjoy the Oscars every year. And Jimmy Kimmel, he's my man. He does a great job. I love him as the host.
Who was your favorite late night host when you were growing up? This is the last thing, maybe.
Oh, it's got to be Johnny Carson, right?
No, well, when I was growing up, it was Johnny Carson because he was about it. But my favorite late night host of all time is David Letterman. I loved Letterman. Yeah, that whole humor was out there. That was right in my sweet spot when it was going on too. College, college age. That's where it's at. All right, fellas, we made it through. It's March Madness. We got another day or so to get ready for Thursday at noon. Spartans play Friday at 12:15. So I know how that day is going to start. So it's a lot of fun. You guys got to work during the tournament? You got time off where you can sneak some games, or you're just going to be checking it on your phone?
I'll be at work, but it's going to be on all the TVs. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's I was lucky last year where I remember I had Friday off and I worked Thursday till like 4 or 5, so it was kind of perfect.
Yeah.
But no, you can't beat the college life or the retired life, Ted, where it's
I
just
know.
you got nothing to do, man. You schedule. Basically, your job is to plan a party for it. So
That's it.
You're lucky, man.
We'll see how it turns out. All right, guys, let's get out of here. This has been the 3 Point Podcast presented by Memorial Healthcare's Now Community Wellness Center and Skymint Cannabis. Skymint Cannabis, 40% off flower. That's a great deal. Over 15 locations throughout the state. Check out the Skymint Reserve. If you're over 21, go online at skymint.com. Gift cards available. Check out the Corona store, the coupon code 3.20 at the store. If you're a first-time customer, tell them 3 Point Podcast sent you. Also, Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center hits a whole lot more than a gym. All kinds of stuff included in your membership. And you have day memberships like Jared used a couple different times. If you just want to show up, see what it's all about, I think it's like $10-12, and you can go use all the equipment, the sauna, the steam room. It's just an awesome setting. So check it out at memorialhealthcare.org. Also, AZEE Printing Solutions on board, Capital Sports Fieldhouse, Pro Real Estate and Auction, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, Jimmy Woodworth there for all that. Also, follow us on social media at 3 Point Pod. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on Thursday sometime. We'll have the replay of the Langsburg and Michigan Center game. Hopefully the Wolfpack can come away with a win there and make it to the quarterfinals. It's going to be just down the road for them in Jared if they make it. It's Ypsilanti Lincoln, I think they're going to be at. So we hope to be there too. So that'll do it for us. Peace and love, everybody. Be kind, and thank you for listening.